Hello everyone! It has been a busy few weeks, but I'm happy for the release of the version 0.77 of my custom nodes. In this video, we are going to see what's new and what I have planned for the future. So you already know global pygmy chain node, but now you can use a new global pygmy node. Instead of being an anonymous chain, these new nodes are linked together not by inputs and outputs, but by an unique identifier. You can keep the default, which is just default. To recover the value, you just need a load global pygmy node. We will keep the ID as default and put A, B, C. Here you can see that they work just like the pygmy nodes above. And I can very easily select B. Or C. You can use as many identifiers as you want. Let's create another group called color. Let's put blue, red, yellow. So every time I pick a color, it will deselect the other colors, but it will not touch the default identifier above. They are different and are treated differently. To use the load node, I of course need to set it to color as well. Another cool stuff is that this load node will also take a value at random from this group. Here you can see yellow, but if I keep running, it will change. You also have an output that is ready to be used as a variable. You can see it here with a special syntax. Now we are going to talk about advanced write text node. I added a few functionalities and some are probably not known to most of you. So I will show you that. Everything here also works for the line selector node. So let's pick this variable. You already know how to do that. So we have color is yellow. You also already know how to select a value at random from a list of values. Here, blue and red. Alright, so let's see more advanced syntaxes. You can actually use percentages if you want to pick something randomly, but you want some more frequently than others. Here I will pick A 80% of the time, B 15% of the time, and C 5% of the time. Or, let's speak English here. Here you can see B, but most of the time it will select A. Let's try an extreme example with 98% A. A. Still A. So here we will have almost always A. You can use this as you wish, but I actually use this system when I want to select a random hair color. I want some colors to be more common than others, like black, brown, or blonde. And some other colors, like red, blue, pink, to exist in the random selection list, but I also want them to be rare. Basically, with this syntax, you can make a realistic amount of randomness in your list. Let's make a quick example of that. I will put black, brown, and blonde at 30. And I will have another 10 to spread around for other colors. Let's not waste too much time on that. You have the idea. Let's try to find the red or blue there. It will take a few tries. And finally, here we have red. Let's organize and clean up all of that. We will see more advanced stuff. So when you create a list like that, you can also create what I called static groups. When you use that, the value will be kept in the entire node. You can keep using the same static group and the randomness will not happen more than once. Here you can see I only have bananas, not a mix of several fruits. You can also create a group. This will behave differently. It will basically remove an element of the list if it was already selected. Here I have 3 fruits. 1 apple, 1 orange, and 1 banana. Let's see how I personally use that in practice. But before, let's create some variables. Character will be Jessica. And Jessica will be another variable. And I want it to be a reference to an audio file. Let's say a sample for a text-to-speech model. So probably not many of you know that you can do several layer calls on variables. Go back to a simple example. Character is, and the tag for character. And here I have the text. Character is Jessica. And I will write her voice here too. So you can recover this syntax. You just have to surround it with less than and greater than symbols again. In this situation, it will catch the value of the Jessica variable, which is, in our case, the WAV file. Depending on the node, you will probably have to put the full path, but it's up to you. If you want to use that, be careful because the order of variable declaration matters. If here I reverse Jessica and character, you see that it isn't working anymore. Let's go back to the group and I will show you an example of both of that. Let's create a group of 3 characters. So you can create a group list for that. Here the group have the same name as the variable, but it really doesn't matter. And let's create another group called LMR for left, middle, and right. This one will just store the positioning of the characters in the image or video. And we will call this group LMR. Now we can recover these two variables and have a combination of any of that with all the characters and all the positions. Let's do car is LMR. I will copy that 3 times. And when I run that, I have a random position for every characters. You can see that all the characters are here and all the positions are filled. And however random it is, this is a guarantee. If you want to remove a line from a list, I recommend you to comment it instead of deleting it. Just put a sharp symbol at the beginning of the line, and the line will be ignored. Here you can see I have only 2 lines now. Moving on, let's talk about switches. So you already know Combine Text node. It is just a node to combine several text inputs together. But this time, instead of connecting Write Text node directly to it, I will add a switch in the middle. On the top, I will set, for example, the background of an image. Instead of this simple write text node, you can have a very complex system to create or define a background. But in the end, you will just have text. And the second will be, let's say, the lighting. Again, just make it simple with a simple neon light. So with Combine Text, you have this. Background is a forest, neon light. By default, these switches don't do anything. If I remove them now, it will be the same. But inside them is a switch button. When you click on it, you can see that the switch will turn red. It will basically stop what is sent to Combine Text. Here I disabled the lightning text. When I run that, I have only the background. I can turn it back on to recover it. Of course, I can also disable the background. And here I have only the lightning. This switch is a very convenient way to avoid having to disconnect your nodes, which can get messy. And you can also forget about it. Well, talking about being messy, I'm struggling here. All right. But that is not the end. These switches also have another neat button. And it's called Only Me Combine Text. These switches are able to communicate with my Combine Text node. If they are connected to it, that is. They can tell it to pick them exclusively. If you have only 2 input, that's not very useful. But let's say you have many. Let's make 4. Put random values. So if you want to select only the background, you can just disable all the others. But that can be very tedious. What you can do is use this Only Me Combine Text. Here you can see that the node is turning blue. Even if the other switches are not disabled, they will not be in the results. But be careful, because this switch can communicate with combined text, but not with the other switches. So if you want to select only the light, you can do that. You can see it turns blue and the result is good. But if you do another one, it will not remove the old one. We now have two blue nodes. It is your job to be careful to have only one only me if you want to use this functionality. It will still work, but maybe not as you think it will. Let's remove background and lightning as last example of that. And it works as expected. I also have a similar system for other nodes. You can use the same idea with my combine image node. Let's load some rabbits. Combine image is working the same way, but with images instead of text. So here we have both images going through the node. And like before, we can add a switch, an anything switch. So we will put these switches in the middle as usual. And here we have the same result. If we disable one of the rabbits, I will have only one. I will continue to add more and more compatibilities in the future with all my nodes. But you can already use this node with my combine image node. Now, let me show you another convenient node, my seed manager node. Let's load a basic workflow. I will just put back an SD 1.5 model. So every time you run a workflow, this seed is randomized by the K-sampler. But this isn't tracked anywhere. If you want to do that, you can use my seed manager. I will remove what I had from before with this button. Here in the show node, you can see the current seed. And inside the node, you can see the next seed that is going to be used in the next run. You see this one is a 239 something. I run this, and 239 something is now at the bottom. Let's keep this bottle as a reference for this 239 seed. I will copy and paste this 239 seed up there and rerun the workflow. And here you can see I recovered the same bottle. You also have a previous seed output in this node, if you want to recover the last used seed. But all the seeds are actually stored inside the list. You can display it and inspect them all. It is just a list with a semicolon as a delimiter. Every time you run the workflow, more seeds will be added to the list. This image is funny, there is no bottle. You can use my select from list to select a specific seed from the list. Let's recover the 239 something, which was the third one. And the one with no bottles. It was the number 4 in the list. And now I'm going to show you what I'm currently working on. Basically, what is going to be in the next update. I will have a large collection of remote nodes. Basically, you will be able to remotely execute your workflows. So this node can do whatever you want, all depending on what workflow you put in. Here I'm on my laptop, and the running code will be on my main desktop computer. But in the future, that could be a runpod instance or other things. So I will quickly show you how it will work. For this demonstration, I'm going first to create an image, then I'm going to edit this image. I'm going to take this edited image and I'm going to animate it. And at the end, I'm just going to make one of the characters talk. So let's start by creating an image. Prompt will be simple, two Vikings looking at the camera. I will set a fixed seed at 666. And I will be back when it's done. So it just took a few seconds and I have that. And now we are going to edit this image. If you don't know it yet, I have a preview node that you can use to compare up to 4 images. This time I will have an image as input. Let's put another prompt, making the Vikings a little older. I will change the workflow for one that can edit an image. I will just set the upscale to 1. And the noise can stay at 0.5. And I will wait a little bit and be right back. And finally, we have this. Now we are going to animate this image. Let's just select an image to video workflow. Change this for MP4, because this node will create a video. I will keep a descriptive prompt. I don't want to add any strong animation there. This is just a test to show you basic stuff. So the animation workflow is returning an image as well. In this case, it will be the last frame of the video. It is quite useful if you want to make a follow-up animation based on that. But in this example, what we really want is the generated video. And again, I will be back when my 4070 potato is done. So here we have our very basic animation. Very mild 1 second animation. Probably 1.5, but that's not the point. What I'm going to do here is to use my ping pong node to make it a loop. This way we can have reusable infinite loop video. And I'm going to save this file using my ffmpeg save video node. You can use the default configuration, but you can also load more from my config node. When I spend so much time generating something, I want to keep the highest quality possible. I often keep MKV and 10CRF. But MP4 for some support and 15CRF is also just fine. I made a smart output for the ffmpeg node, so you can check all the details about quality video, CRF, some explanations about everything, and how you can improve your current video. But here we can focus on our example. Here you can see that the loop is being created and that the video preview is being generated. And this is our loop. The result here isn't amazing, but it is indeed a seamless loop. And that's what I wanted. I am not going to wait for the high-quality video to be saved. I will come back when it's done. So the video was saved and I have a clean workflow now. This is the path of the video. Now we are going to use the same system to make the characters talk. The prompt this time will be the spoken text. Here I just put normal, colon, hello, how are you? This text normal just tells the workflow which voice to use. You can set up a list of characters with a specific voice, for example. But that's beyond the point of this demonstration. The workflow will be text to speech, and the output will be MP4. Same as usual, I will set a fixed seed at 666. Connect a video preview. And once again, I'll be back when it's done. And after a while, we have that.
Hello, how are you?
And it's a drama. We have our Viking with a very feminine voice. And you might ask yourself, why is it him talking? Well, it all depends on the workflow. But this workflow is using the value of the upscale for now. So yeah, it's still in beta. I need to think more about the layout. Anyway, with 2.0, it is the guy on the right. If I put 1.0, it will be the woman on the left. So I'm gonna run that. And I will be back when it's done. And now we have that.
Hello, how are you?
So it is the same voice. Actually, it's exactly the same sound. My workflow there isn't going to regenerate a text that was already generated. So how did I do that? Let me show you a couple of new nodes I made to save VRAM. But you can also use them, like in this example, to lip sync a specific character. These nodes are already available in 0.77. So I will recover this video from its path. Recover the images with my load video node. Preview the image. And I will just start by selecting only the first frame of the video to make it simple at first. What you can do is split this image like a grid style. And then you can reassemble them later. Let's focus on splitting the image first. Let's send the first frame of the video as input. I will put a preview on part 1 and part 2. Let's put 2 rows and 1 column. With that, we will have an image cut horizontally in the middle. But that's not what I want. I will change that to 1 row and 2 columns. And here we have our 2 characters, almost neatly cut. At least it was good enough for lip sync. This node isn't limited to lip sync, of course. You can do whatever you want with it. To be sure that split and reassemble will be in sync, I will make them share the same amount of rows and the same amounts of columns. So changing it in the split node will automatically change it in the reassemble node. I will also add the original image as well. And here you can see that the image was recreated from the 2 halves. But this node can also work with multiple images. And a video is only just a bunch of images. If max frames is set at 0, it means no limits. It will just take the whole video. This time let's connect a video preview instead. And I will try to fit a preview video for the first part. It took quite a while on my shitty laptop, but it is working. So you can see here many outputs, part 1, part 2, etc. If you want to work on a specific part, you can do that. And reconnect them as you wish. To prove to you that it has an effect, I will send part 1 to part 2 and part 2 to part 1. And here you can see the final result. If you want more details about this node, you can check the GitHub repo. I explained about the modified part output and the video part index and so on. I also have a bunch of easy-to-use nodes to make some fixes on images. And maybe videos. All with a clean interface. Let me show you another beta node that will be used to fix faces. So I don't care about quality here. Let me show you how it works with a simple ST1.5 model. I'm gonna recover the image we did before. And I will use a node called FixFace. It can fix faces, for example, messed up faces if the character is too far away, for example. You can see an example of that on my GitHub page. But in our case here, faces are just fine. But we can also use this node to edit and change faces. Let's make the woman African and the man Chinese. So the input image will be the image we did before. I will connect model, clip, and VAE. And that's about it. After that, everything is optional. Let's set the number of faces to give them more details. When we do that, we have two new inputs. I will just put a face settings node in both of them. This will be face 1, from left to right, so this will be the woman, and this one will be the man. So let's write African woman and the Chinese man. We will put 0.7 denoise for both. Again, not about quality here. If they don't blend perfectly, I don't care. That will be your job to test and try. The denoise in this node will replace the default one used in the fix face node. If face index is set at 0, it will change all the faces. You can put 1 or 2 to limit the changes to the first or second face. If no settings are set for faces, it will just take the default values. But here, I will keep that at 0 to change all faces. We are going to use my preview node again, with the original image, the final image, and the mask image, to check if our face detection is working correctly. Here something is missing. It is the path of the YOLO model. I am not sure how I will manage that in the future. Train my own or use an existing one. For now here I will just put the path of the YOLO model. You can see it here, face YOLO 8. And run that again. It shouldn't be long with SD1.5. You can notice that the node here is running 2 times. 1 time for each faces. And now we see this. This is just the mask image. it is showing us the position of every face. The white square is the part of the image that will be edited. So the bottom will be a mask. On the left is the original image, and on the right is the new image. You can use my node to change that layout by just clicking around. And here you can see that the man is now Chinese, and that the woman is African. And you can also at the same time clearly see the square of detection. If you select only one face in the options, you will clearly see where the square is. It is very convenient for debugging. Of course, I advise you to use a better value than 0.7. Like I said, a high dNose might cause problems with the rest of the image. But I hope you already know that. That's about it for this update. I hope you enjoy my work and that you will make a lot of cool stuff with it in the future. I would love to find some financing for what I'm doing. And donations doesn't seem to be a thing that people do nowadays. So I might do a premium service of some kind. Probably distribute the custom workflow for my Ko-fi supporters or something like that. Of course, if you already donated something, you will have access to everything I make. And have early access to most of my stuff. As you might have noticed, I'm still far away from doing what I want to do with this project. I really want to release my other projects as well, but I need to focus on this one first. And I still have a lot of work to do. Many ideas requires a lot of time. Remember that I'm alone working on that, and it is still in the making. So you might encounter bugs or something like that. I'm adding a lot of new stuff, so without your feedbacks, it will be very difficult for me to maintain everything properly. We are still far away from my 1.0 stable version. And like I said, I'm really waiting on your feedback. And as usual, if you like my work, you can send your love on my Ko-fi page. Have fun you all, and I'll see you soon.